Hello everyone, my name is Christopher, and in this video we are going to rank every single character in Overwatch 2 based on whether they need a rework, buff, nerf, are they absolutely great in the current state of Season 7, or they need to be completely removed from the game because they are absolutely horrible. Let's start off with Bastion, and I feel like this character needs a serious nerf, and developers are actually they are planning on doing that in the mid-season patch. I would say that Bastion is hands down the best character to climb ranked, especially because you are insanely powerful versus pretty much every single tank. You are a great answer to Winston, you are a great answer to Reinhardt, great answer to stuff like Arisa if she's out of cooldowns, Zarya if she's out of bubbles, and there is not a single DPS that can match the damage per second that you can get out of his turret form. Genji, on the other hand, is a pretty weak character in the Season 7, and I feel like he needs a bit of a buff because you see the trend in the current state of the game is kind of a brawl slash poke meta where you are pew-pewing from far, and if you try to go close, it's a very high risk, low reward kind of thing. So characters without range tend to be very bad. Junkrat, Reaper, Cassidy, Tracer, Sombra, they are all terrible characters in the current state of the game, and Genji is not an exception. You just need a bit of a buff, perhaps Season 1 Genji might be an option. Cassidy needs a serious rework because I feel like when Overwatch 1 state McCree was kind of a peak in terms of his balance between mechanical skill and then overpoweredness of the character. Right now he's a complete abomination. They completely destroyed his range. He's super useless. There are so many better DPS that can do everything he can but better, and then his nade is just a complete abomination. Who else thought of an idea of hindered? I have no idea. Cassidy needs a serious rework. D.Va is a completely fine character in the current state of the game. Incredibly powerful on verticality maps, incredibly powerful on flat maps against certain characters such as Winston. She can be played against Doomfist and peel for the team, and then a few counters that you can run against her are kind of squishy, you know, and can be balanced out by your own DPS character. Imagine they go Zarya and you just wait for the bubbles to run out and then you completely burst her with Bastion, and now you can play D.Va on flat maps as well, and it's great. Hanzo is a character that needs a buff. The whole Shimada family is kind of lacking in Season 7. I feel like there is just nothing to kill, and as a DPS character you really need to give enemy tank problems. Otherwise you are just completely useless because tank is taking the space, and as a DPS you can use this space to gain advantage on the map. If you don't have space, you don't have opportunities to take advantage. And if you are not denying the space for the enemy tank, he takes it, and then you have less options and they have more options, and thus your supports are in trouble, your second DPS is in trouble, and then your tank is kind of suffering. There is nothing to kill when it comes to Sigma. If you're playing versus Arisa, again, nothing you can do. Zarya, you will just charge her, and Junker Queen, you will never be able to hit her. Reinhardt can shield. Hanzo is just terrible. He needs a buff. I feel like Junkrat needs to be deleted from the game. This is gonna be a very popular opinion. Character is incredibly fun to play, except the fact that they can swap Fire Mercy just after one good fight, and then your life goes from being a completely fun experience to a very miserable one, and there is nothing you can do. I feel like Junkrat is not in, like, he just does not fit in the current state of Overwatch 2. I feel like his whole kit is just made to make people tilt, make people mad. You hate playing with Junkrat, you hate playing against Junkrat. No one likes him, like, and it is just crazy. This dude has to be deleted from the game. I feel like Lucio is a character that is fine, although pretty much no one can use him because Like, you have to have a good brawl tank to play with you, and then if you don't, you're just gonna be a complete abomination. You have to understand that in Season 7, the most important aspect you can do is damage. This is why Illari is the strongest support, this is why Bastion is the strongest DPS, and this is why perhaps Zarya is incredibly powerful as a tank. Who else is there as a tank that's really good right now? Sigma is really good because he can deny damage, and denying damage is just as good as dealing damage, you know? So I would say Lucio is fine, he does not need a buff or a nerf, but people just never play him. I never see Lucio, and even if I do, everyone like asks you to swap. Mei needs... I don't know what Mei needs. I feel like she's completely fine, but in the current state of the game, no one is gonna... Like, Lucio and Mei are great with combination with Reinhardt, and then maybe you go Baptiste, and maybe you go Bastion, and you have a cool brawl composition to play with. But in reality, in a solo queue ranked experience, even in a duo queue, no one is gonna play what you want. Everyone is gonna play some abomination. They don't care about the whole concept of meta composition. They just don't care. It's gonna play Moira and stuff, and your Lucio is gonna suffer because of that. And then you play Mei, he plays Torbjorn, and then they swap Pharah Mercy, and now you are cooked. So Mei is fine, especially after they how would you say that? They returned the left click that it once was. Yeah, she is completely fine. Mercy has to be deleted from the game. This is going to be a very unpopular opinion. I feel like in a first-person shooter, the character that does not shoot does not belong in the game, and there are so many problems that Mercy breeds. It is crazy. Perhaps not deleted, but reworked. Maybe you just like buff her Glock, and she's gonna be a flying Glock character that's gonna destroy everyone. Perhaps she can be flying and using Glock to heal teammates. Imagine you are like in Illari ultimate state, but you have a Glock that can heal teammates like pew 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 pew, little projectiles. That's gonna be really fun. Although every single e-girl is gonna suffer quite tremendously from that, so we kinda don't need that. Pharah is a character that needs a buff, and I would say that even though people will be incredibly mad about it, Pharah is a character that needs a buff, seriously. Outside of that, we will have so many problems. Like, imagine you don't have a second hit scan to back you up. Pharah Mercy is gonna be super deadly. Imagine you don't have a hit scan at all. That's just GG. That's just GG right from the start. But in reality right now, Baptiste is a great option, Illari is a great option, and like, I, as a support, can kill Pharah Mercy easily or just deny their space. Reaper is a character that needs a buff. There is nothing you can do with his current kit. You just need to up his numbers a bit, I feel like, because his range is just terrible. Every single good DPS character can outrange him, every single DPS character can out-deal damage, so it's a lot safer to play Bastion, and you can have more value by playing Bastion in comparison with playing Reaper. Your ultimate is really easily kiteable by Lamp, Suzu. Like, a person that you are ulting can get nanoed, and then Diva can eat it, and then just someone can shield it. It's just horrible. Reinhardt is a character that is completely fine. I feel like Reinhardt is only weak because Orisa is incredibly powerful and Bastion is incredibly powerful. Outside of that, Reinhardt is a very chill character. I feel like he is very fair in the sense that, like, you understand that you can play against him and it's gonna be completely fine, and you can play with him and it's gonna be completely fine. It's like the canonic tank that you know is gonna protect you, or he can be just like in a cinematic, just running around like an idiot. Okay, this character needs a rework. We are having the mid-season 7 Roadhog rework. I'm kind of curious to see how they will be able to keep the personality, but completely get rid of everything else. I think this character is completely fine to play in Season 7, like, it can work if they don't have Ana or you have Kiriko to cleanse anti-nade. Outside of that, Hog needs a rework. Soldier is an absolutely fine character in the current state of the game. He can be a little bit annoying if they have the mercy pocket, but outside of that, Soldier is pretty weak against certain meta tanks such as Sigma, Orisa. There's just nothing you can do against them. But outside of that, his kit feels completely fine. He is not overpowered, he is not underpowered, he's just right in the spot where he needs to be. Symmetra is a character that I feel like needs a rework on some sort, because I hate the current state of Symmetra. She was terrible before her power got shifted from the turrets to left click and right click, and now she can be extremely annoying as well. Like the fact that on control of the point maps, she can be an exceptionally great DPS character that just TPs the whole team to the point, and now you get like 20-30% free, even if you lose the team fight. You can just stall the point for as long as you can. Her turrets are incredibly annoying to play against, and if she goes in with you and she has a level 3 beam, that's a complete GG for you. You are microwaved, you are toasted, there is nothing you can do to save yourself. GG's, man. Torb needs a buff. This, I don't know, or like maybe he needs a rework. I don't know. This character feels like completely horrible. I feel like he was in such a nice state before they shifted his power from the turret. His turret was amazing, and then you can go for some cheeky turret spots and then be like cool with it, and then they added this machine gun. He's like pew 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 with his E, and there is just nothing you can do. And then they kind of reverted that, and now he feels like an absolute garbage. Terrible. Tracer needs a buff. I feel like with the rise of Illari that can 2-tap Tracer, the whole dive concept kind of died. There is just nothing you can do. Season 7 got us into a serious brawl slash poke meta composition where dive is just not an option. Your pylon is incredibly powerful and Tracer is just suffering all the way. Nothing you can do. You get shot once, you need to recall or go behind the cover or call your mommy, because the second shot is gonna be deadly. Seriously, this character needs a buff. Not only she's very hard to play, but impossible to play right now. That character needs to be deleted from the game ASAP. Widowmaker is completely busted. Even though they completely nerfed her range, she's still very, very powerful and very annoying. You can still double tap enemies from range, you can still go for some cheeky headshots. This character is just, she just does not feel nice to play. It's a complete hit or miss. You can have a pro player that's just completely destroying everyone, and then your typical plat dude is never gonna hit a single shot. So balancing Widowmaker is never an option. I feel like every single character with one-shot kill ability is just completely unbalanceable, whether it's a Roadhog, whether it's Hanzo or Widowmaker, and I personally have no idea how can you like keep the personality of the character without deleting him, or without completely like rewiring his or her abilities. Winston is a character that is absolutely and completely fine, although the problem is that Bastion is in the meta, Diva is in the meta, and character is terrible because of that. Winston can work against certain compositions when they are playing stuff like Sombra Tracer and no one can shoot your bubble reliably, or perhaps they are going Zarya, you can play Winston into that. But again, like one good fight with Winston and they swap Bastion, and there are so many problems that this one little character brings to the table. Like it is just completely crazy. Zarya needs a nerf. Zarya is a very, very annoying tank, and every single time I see Zarya, I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be a disaster. Like the character is so overpowered to the point where you can just press W into a whole team of enemies, and if they don't know how to counter you, you can just burn everyone down to death. Wow. And thank God they reverted the changes on the ally bubble, because that was busted as well. Bubble was huge, 25 more HP to burst it down. It means that you have 10% more ult charge from like every single bubble, and it was just completely terrible. Zenyatta is an absolutely fine character in the current state of the game. I like how they balanced his Discord orb, and he feels okay to play. There is a perfect balance between you being deadly and you being dead on Zenyatta. Like, it's actually really nice. But, unfortunately, we have an abomination called Illari in the game, and Illari is just a better Zenyatta in every shape and form. She can deal more damage, she can be way more annoying, she is better at flanking, she is better at healing, she is better at like pretty much everything. Slimmer model, harder to kill, and yeah, Zenyatta is absolutely fine, but Illari is a character that needs a serious nerf. The fact that you can solo carry games on Illari, and sometimes you can have more damage than your DPS, more damage than your tank, as a support player, while keeping a good like numbers of healing, because your pylon is like you don't need to control it, makes the character completely busted. I feel like Ana is completely fine, although if I were to be the part of the balance team, I would go for something like healing reduction instead of completely cutting off heals with the anti-nade, right? So if you are going for an anti, you still can heal like your ally, but maybe 30% of what you initially do, or like 50% or something like that. We need to tweak numbers, but if you can't heal them, the only thing they can do is to like try to shield it in the first place, or go for the Suzu, or stay behind the cover. But outside of that, Ana, I feel like, is the most balanced support in the game, because like you have a very fair hit scan ability, very like high skill floor, skill ceiling, and I like it. Sombra is terrible and she needs a buff. Sombra is terrible and she needs a buff. You either nerf these characters so Sombra can play, or you buff Sombra. Outside of that, she is super weak, like B tier maximum. Everyone was like, oh, rework Sombra, such a great character, this and that. Complete garbage. Complete garbage. Very low damage numbers, very unreliable, easy to catch. Bad versus Winston, bad versus Zarya, bad versus Diva, bad versus Sigma. Nah, this character is just complete garbage. Orisa needs a nerf, and they are nerfing Orisa in the mid-season 7 patch, and I absolutely like it. I feel like developer team is finally catching up with what's going on in the game, and they're like, oh yeah, we made a mistake here, we apologize, we're gonna rework, we're gonna go for nerfs, we're gonna go for this, we're gonna go for that, and that's beautiful. That's keeping the game fresh. I'm actually very curious to see how Reinhardt is gonna perform when they're gonna nerf Zarya, Orisa, and Bastion. Maybe he's gonna be the meta and stuff. Doomfist is a completely fine character. I absolutely like him. He is one of my favorite tanks to play. Nice movement, nice abilities. I like him as is, and if you would nerf Orisa, if you would nerf Bastion, and if you would nerf Illari, this character is gonna shine brighter. He's gonna be really, really nice. Hopefully in the mid-season 7 we will see more Doomfists playing the game. Moira needs to be deleted from the game. This character does not deserve a spot in Overwatch. I would say even rework is not gonna help the character. Like, you're just a complete abomination. You can't heal good, and then your damage is terrible, and you just like, at certain point you quickly realize that Moira is just a worse version of every single support we have in Overwatch 2, and there is nothing you can do about it. She is just straight up bad, and does not have enough utility to help everyone stay alive. She does not have enough utility to reliably kill targets, because they get out healed so much faster, and it's just a GG. Brig is a completely fine character, although I would like to see a little buff, because if you nerf these characters, dive characters are gonna be a lot stronger, and the way to balance dive characters is to buff Brig. So what I would buff from her, I would revert the changes on the shield for like 300, so she can be a little bit less spooky with it, and then perhaps her health packs, maybe like recharge them a little bit faster than they are recharging now. Outside of that, very cool character to play. Wrecking Ball needs a buff. This character is a complete abomination, very difficult for the value you can get out of him. You have to be an exceptional player to have mediocre value, and why would you play ball if you can just play diva and do so much more? You will have reliable duels, you will have the chance to save your teammates, you will have the chance to have an easier kit for more value, and yeah, Wrecking Ball needs a buff. Ashe is completely fine. Ashe is actually the character that's absolutely and completely fine in current state of the game. Mercy Pocket makes her a little bit stronger than she was before, and Ashe is gonna shine brighter if they nerf or delete Widowmaker. Ashe is gonna shine brighter if they would buff Hanzo. We are probably dead. But yeah, Baptiste is a character that needs a little nerf. I feel Baptiste is like an S tier support right now, especially if you have a reliable tank to play with you. He is incredibly powerful. He can damage, he can heal, he can save. Your lamp is an incredible ability that denies so many ultimates. He's very difficult though, and sometimes it takes hundreds of hours to really get used to his ability. Like, you just have to spend a lot of time practicing the character to be good, but yeah, outside of that, Bap is incredibly powerful. Sigma is completely fine in the current state of the game. He is one of the strongest tanks, not because of his insane abilities, but because he is good versus meta compositions. He is good versus Bastion, he is good versus Sombra, he is good versus Orisa, he is good versus Bap, he's good versus Larry, he's good versus Ana, because he does not care about any of them, and that's completely perfect. Echo is a character that needs a buff. She is incredibly nice and fun to play, but super difficult. It takes a lot of time to practice her, it takes a lot of time to get used to her kit, and she's very easily countered by Mercy plus a hit scan. There is just nothing you can do against that. Sojourn is a character that needs rework. I don't know, she feels like if you compare season 1 Sojourn when she was incredibly powerful to the Sojourn now, you quickly realize that you are terrible. You are terrible against Reinhardt, you are terrible against Genji, you are terrible against Junkrat Queen, you are terrible against Zarya. There is no way that you can like reliably charge right click, and then you charge your right click, and it's so hard to hit enemies. It's actually crazy. You need to be a completely like insanely powerful DPS player to like even start playing Sojourn. Very high skill floor, very high skill ceiling. Junkrat Queen needs a little buff, but outside of that, maybe like a few quality of life changes, but outside of that, Junkrat Queen is incredibly nice to play. I absolutely love her. Just a little bit more not survivability, just a little bit more, I don't know what she needs, perhaps like speed, but outside of that, yeah, we don't know. So you can have direct buffs or indirect buffs. Perhaps you can make her enemies a little bit weaker, and this way he can or she can become stronger. But yeah, Kiriko needs a nerf, like straight up. Her Suzu, like invulnerability is such a BS thing in Overwatch 2. On the same line with crowd control abilities, it's actually crazy. Like, if you would look at this, these are the characters that are very unfair. Illari with her immortal or like infinite pylon, Baptiste with the lamp that gives invulnerability, Kiriko with Suzu. I don't know, they need to make her a little bit thicker in terms of her model, perhaps on the same size as Baptiste, so it can be easier to hit her, because now it's a hassle to hit Kiriko. And maybe make her a little bit more healing oriented, so she is not going on a flank and hitting double headshots on squishes. Outside of that, a very nice character. Ramatra is a character that needs a buff. There is just nothing you can do to save him, and yeah, outside of that, pretty nice. And the last character for today is gonna be Lifeweaver, and I'm gonna place him in the rework category. I feel like Lifeweaver needs a little bit more offensive options. Perhaps you can like poison someone because everything is about plants. Perhaps you can plant a tree inside of a person and go completely crazy with it. Maybe you add an ability like that can reliably help you deal damage at the same time as healing, because Ilaria can do it, Baptiste can do it, Kiriko can do it, Ana can do it. They all have offensive options, plus they can help their team. But this guy, he can't. There is just nothing you can do. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video. See you in the next one. Take care.